Aloha bloomers. So the subject that I've chosen to discuss today is a little bit complicated, and I'm going to do my best to describe these things in a short space that I can. So it keeps coming up in my research a lot lately about how dangerous it can be to over appraise your children. For a number of reasons. So the main one being when you praise your child too much, they may become hooked. And children have a tendency to base their self-worth on how people that look after them praise them or don't praise them. So yeah, the biggest one for me that I relate to anyway is because I was raised in a family that I didn't really have a lot of appraisal. My mum praised me a little, but I had none from my dad that I'm aware of. And my biggest challenges as an adult has been suffering from codependency because I have become obsessed with trying to make everybody else happy, because I just want to be recognised for the good things that I do, basically. So I became a massive people pleaser. And in the process, I completely lost my self-identity and all of my self-worth because I just relied on everybody else to give it to me. And not many people will do that as adults. You know, it's not really something common that you'll get an adult praising you. And that can feel very disappointing, and for somebody who develops a need for that, every time you're rejected, I suppose, like, it crushes you, like it breaks your heart, and that feeling of disappointment and desperation to be acknowledged for being good, like, it's very damaging. So yeah, another big one is, you know, when parents praise a child constantly, they don't ever have a chance to learn and develop their own sense of independence, or, you know, they don't ever recognize their own achievements because they haven't developed that sense of, oh, you know, I can do this on my own, because they've always had a parent there saying, well done, you know, brilliant, and things like that. So yeah, that's another big one. Like, it's really important that a child gets that sense of, children need to learn that there's not always going to be somebody there, you know, patting you on the head, you know, telling you you've done a good job. Like, it's not a realistic thing. Obviously it's important to recognise that a child has done something, you know, good, or they've achieved something, but to do it a lot, it's just not smart. So on the other end, a child can actually learn to believe that they can do no wrong. If that parent is constantly, like, praising them for stuff and doesn't ever, you know, tell them off or give them consequences or anything like that, they can believe that, like, I can't do anything wrong because my main caregiver just gives me everything I want. They give me all the attention I want, all the encouragement I want, all the praise I want, and I don't have to do anything. I don't have to work for it. It's just there. So their ego can become very big. And this essentially, to an extreme point, could lead to something called a superior complex, where they just believe they're absolutely better than everyone, and they don't have to do anything. Like, they don't have to work. You know, everything's just put on there in front of them on a plate, because they've never had to do anything in order to actually earn appraisal, or, you know, and that can... Superior complex is not, it's not a nice thing for anybody to experience, including the person that suffers from it, because although they may seem like, you know, they love themselves, and they're really happy when other people are miserable, actually they're not. Like, deep down they actually feel really inferior, which is why it can come out in a way of like narcissism. So, you know, I'm gonna laugh at people's failures, of people being hurt. I'm gonna hurt other people because it makes me feel better. That comes from that, and you know, it makes like, it's completely logical to me because of just where I'm at. But you can't, unless you love yourself, you're not going to be nasty to people. You're just not. Because somebody that loves themselves, like genuinely, unconditionally, they don't want to hurt people. Like, only hate does that. Hate makes you want to hurt people or hurt things. Love doesn't do that. It just doesn't. So, you know, for everybody thinking that somebody has, you know, a narcissistic personality disorder, that they love themselves, actually, they really don't. Like, at all. They don't. They just don't acknowledge that. They don't acknowledge that they hate themselves. So, which is why it looks like they don't care about anybody but themselves. But actually, it's not true at all. I'll do an episode like just on narcissism, because it's something, like, I know quite a bit about it, obviously being raised by a narcissist, and I've had, you know, a couple of relationships with, like, experiencing that again. So I will do, like, it's a big subject, so I will do something on that, maybe multiple things at some point in the future. So moving on to my list, let me just bear with me a minute. So going back again on, you know, not learning to recognise their own achievements. Through this, a child can learn to not trust their own decisions, because they've never actually had the opportunity to learn that what they're doing is right or wrong. They just see everything they're doing is right. And obviously, if you're not making your own decisions, or you're making decisions in a case of you're doing it just to please somebody else to get recognition or approval, there's no way that you're going to know how to do that. You can't. As a child, especially, like, we have to make mistakes, and we have to know we're making those mistakes in the first place, because otherwise you can't learn right from wrong. And if you're not doing that, and also if you're people pleasing and you're doing everything in your power to make somebody else happy, you're just gonna, you know, there might be times where it aligns with what you think is right, or of who you are, but for the most part you're just being fake. So if you're being fake, when you're fake so much, you completely lose yourself. You have no like, you don't have a sense of identity at all. So you're not going to be able to make decisions. So you're not going to trust yourself. You don't know what you want. You don't know who you are, because you've spent so much time just pretending, if you like. There's just no way you're going to be able to make decisions. And that can really screw you up. Have a lot of experience with a lot of these things, so it's not fun. And another one is, so a child will be taught that love is conditional. When a parent is constantly praising the things they do and the behaviours that they want, a child is going to believe that those actions are what make them important. So if they, they do something that's bad and they're not they're like ignored, or they're not even recognised, they're not given consequences, they're going to just believe, automatically children are just going to believe that they're not worth anything, and they're bad. Children often think they're bad. They don't understand that their actions, and to be honest, quite a lot of adults don't understand this either, to be honest. They don't understand that their actions are something, how am I going to say this? I've lost my train of thought. My brain is not really working very well, but I want to do a video today, so just bear with. Deserving, that's the word. So a lot of people think if they're not doing the right thing, or if they're making mistakes, they believe they're bad, because people don't show them care. Like, a lot of people won't show, they'll take things away, they'll punish you, like, and I'm totally responsible for doing this too, because in relationships, I have a tendency, I still do this sometimes, like, I don't want to, because I know that it's not okay, but if there's something I want, for example, and they don't do it, I will give them the silent treatment, for example, or I'll stop telling them that I love them, or I'll stop giving them affection. That's conditional love. Just because somebody makes a mistake or does something that you perceive to be the wrong thing to do, it doesn't mean that they're not worth that love anymore. I hope that makes sense. Like, this is kind of the whole unconditional and conditional love is quite a hard thing to express, because it's not something that we really come by. It's very rare that you'll ever even meet somebody that knows how to unconditionally love. I try, but even me, I still, I do subconsciously love conditionally sometimes. I'm working on it, but we're human, and it's what I've been taught, and it's what society teaches us, conditional love, so it is something that is hard. And yeah, I think, oh no, there's one more that I haven't mentioned. So a child can feel a great sense of pressure to live up to the standards of perfection. If you have a parent that's praising you so much for every little thing, you can, as an adult, you may want to continue that, because you're finding it's harder to get appraisal from anybody. So you may feel a lot of pressure to live up to, doing everything right all the time, understandably, as an adult, and that can cause anxiety to the extreme, and an inferiority complex, which again is where you just constantly, like, no matter what you do, it is not good enough, and that's ingrained in you. It's not good enough. My actions are not good enough. I'm not good enough. What I do is not good enough. Like, they just don't, and it doesn't matter. It can turn into the extreme of, like, somebody could be praising you. Like, it could get to this point. Somebody could be praising you for something that you've done well, and you just won't accept it. because it's not perfect. And no matter what you do, it's just not good enough, because nothing is perfect. And, you know, perfection is a bitch like this. Like, it's not fun being a perfectionist. That's where anxiety comes from. There's three levels of why people feel have anxiety. I think I'll leave that to another one, actually, because anxiety is another big subject. There's a lot of big things in here, but I'm just trying to point by point. I think I've said enough now. Yeah, I've said enough now. So anyway, I hope that this has been helpful to you as a parent, or, you know, to help prevent your child from going through this crap as an adult. Or it may even make sense to you now. Like, you might have a better understanding yourself, because you may suffer from these things and wonder why. And it could be very well because you came from a family that praised you too much. You may believe that you had an amazing family, and you very well may have done. However, praising people too much is unhealthy. It's dysfunctional, because there needs to be a balance. So, yeah, extreme behaviours tend to lead to extreme behaviours. So, yeah, I'll leave it there. Thanks for listening. Much love.